Hello, Nina here. In this presentation, I want to share with you how I incorporated language coaching principles into my experiential courses for women. I recently presented this at the second International Language Coaching Conference in Paris in June 2023, and now I would like to share it with you. For those of you who don't know me or know very little about me, I run a small language studio in Brno, Czech Republic, and I have been freelancing in ELT for almost 20 years. I focus mainly on women, both students and teachers, recently more teachers than students, because I love empowering women to become more confident and communicative thanks to learning or teaching languages. And today I want to share with you how I created my courses, which I ran in my hometown of Brno, Czech Republic between 2010 and 2020, and how much fun and success we all had with them, both our clients and also us teachers, how I put the courses together, so the course design, what role language coaching played, a bit about connected learning, which supported the whole process, and how students reacted to it and what results they got. It will be about teaching groups of adults offline. However, I think it's easily transferable online, what I've done offline. And I encourage you to get inspired and use whatever you hear today in your courses in the future, but please do not copy the whole process. Let me tell you how it all started. When 5 years into teaching back in 2009, I realized I just wasn't made for teaching with course books because I didn't see the results and I like results. I almost quit teaching. But I guess the teacher DNA that runs in my family, both of my parents used to be teachers, wouldn't let me. So I created courses that I officially called English without course books, in Czech angličtina bez učebnic. You can see that in my logo. And I had the best 10 years of my life. I wanted my students to learn through fun activities from different international teachers and through a lot of conversation with foreigners by attending pub lessons, game nights, karaoke nights, so that they would forget they were using English. And it worked. It automatically created a highly motivating environment for the students because of my genuine interest in their progress. I was always looking for the best ways for each of them to improve. The sense of belonging, being part of a learning community, very, very important. Tons of new friendships with like minded people from the group and the foreigners that joined us, and very informal atmosphere. So, to use language coaching in this context was the easiest thing to do. So, I did it because I didn't want the courses to be just fun and meeting with foreigners. I, just like probably any teacher on this planet, I like results. Do you like results? And since there was no official structure, I wanted to frame the courses with something I had no idea was language coaching. I didn't know what I was doing. I just followed my gut. Between 2010 and 2020, I ran around 150 groups for pre-intermediate to advanced learners where I used language coaching. I taught more groups, but I didn't use language coaching with them. These were either grammar focused or soft skill focused or very low level groups where we didn't really go so deeply into language coaching like I'm going to show you in a minute. Each group had 5 to 7 students. I started first with the most comfortable level for me, intermediate, and then I extended the courses to more levels. At the highest peak, I was running up to 7 different groups per week, of course, with help of many other teachers. I couldn't do this all by myself. And I am eternally grateful that they all worked with me, and it was just amazing. So let's look at some keywords now. First, the blue words, which are all about methodology: experiential, connected, self-directed, flipped, emergent language, unplugged, Dogma ELT, my big inspiration, and autonomous learning. And then the pubs and cafes and kitchens, these are the environments. And coaching holds it all together. So are you getting the picture a bit yet? After seeing some photos and these keywords. Now, to imagine what I am talking about when it comes to course design, first let's look at the length and the types of lessons. So we would always have 12 to 15 weeks. Usually lower levels had slightly longer courses and higher levels shorter courses. It was always 2 to 2.5 hours once a week that we would meet offline, later on in the pandemic online, in different venues, as I showed you a while ago. And there was, of course, asynchronous support from the head teacher, which was usually me, and others in the group, in the private Facebook group, 24/7. We always had 5 to 7 students, like I said, and a minimum of 5 different teachers, Czechs and foreigners. And here comes the most important part of this presentation, and that is the course design. You can see there is a combination of language coaching sessions. These are which color? Yeah, the orange color. And then a mixture of experiential and connected lessons in blue color. Can you guess what we did in the experiential lessons and the connected lessons? Let me show you and tell you a little bit. Always better to see in pictures to imagine. So these are some of the experiential lessons. We did so many different types of experiential lessons, always task-based, very often flipped classroom where we first got ready for the vocab and then, or maybe with some videos, and then the next lesson was this experiential lesson. You can see a baking lesson, a belly dancing lesson, a wine tasting lesson, and there were so many more. Can you think of some other ideas what you as a teacher could do in experiential lessons? But because this is mainly about language coaching, I'm just giving you the overall idea of what was in between. And I want to also show you and talk a little bit about connected learning, because I'm a big fan of connected learning. I helped the students connect not just with each other in the group, it was also outside of our community, so that they could start creating their own community and English speaking environment at work or in their personal lives. It was to inspire them to do that. Because I believe we learn languages primarily to communicate with each other. So I made that a big part of my courses. Our group became a mini community itself, always. We were in touch in the sessions, but also daily in our private Facebook group, as I said, with all the students and teachers. And this also provided quick access to all important information and course materials and photos and videos and links from the lessons and outside of the lessons, because the students had lots of tasks that they had to upload to the group, such as taking some photos of their English activities, travels, hobbies, and so on. In many courses, I set up later on, not at the very beginning, but later on, I set up a study buddy program. Often I would ask the students to pair up and check up on each other throughout the course, which they did and had much better results this way. And of course, beautiful new friendships, which continue to this day in many cases. I see it on social media and they tell me, yeah, it's so much more than a language course. All groups together created a fluid community. We would do garden lessons and take trips and have pub nights 2 or 3 times a year. I did 20 of them between 2012 and 2018. Imagine a cocktail night, karaoke night, game night with all the foreigners and former and current students. There were usually around 60 to 100 people. We even had one pub night where we booked a whole music club and there were 120 people. I would have bands and yeah, it was big. And I can show you the one of the karaoke nights, just the beginning of it, and you can watch the rest of it later if you're interested. I'll send you a link, just ask me.
She nearly drowned. Stop the sun, something's begun. But the sun and crash. That's me in the corner. That's me in the spot. I'm losing my religion. Trying to keep up with you.
You can imagine how much fun we had, right? And you can ask me more about this later on. But now I want to go back to the course design and the main part of this presentation, and that is incorporating language coaching principles into the course. So let me explain more about the coaching part now. Every other lesson, I would be with them as their coach, their mentor, and their consultant. I started with guiding students to set their language goals and then took them through the process of being autonomous, learning how to learn, being disciplined, and learning about self-reflection. So let's start with the first lesson. They had already known from my instructions before the course that they would have to talk to in more depth in the first session about their motivation. So they came prepared. They always came prepared. And thanks to that, we could start working on their goals straight away. I opened the topic of setting goals in the group and the idea behind it. So they shared and listened to each other, and that usually took up the whole 2 hours. I used to plan more for the first lesson, but then I stopped. I could see they needed the space to share their stories and also their dreams, and of course, get to know each other. And then I continued with each of the students individually, and I coached them via Google Documents to set up their goals. I used to do one-on-one consultations, but then I found out that it's much more effective to write all the instructions down, how to set language goals in a blog article and just let them follow it, and it really worked. So between the first and the third lesson, as I said, I emailed with them, we set up a Google document, and they followed my instructions. I used a template with some prompts, so it would be much easier for them to set their language goals. Because the second session was usually a pub lesson where they would meet foreigners for the first time, many of them for the very first time in their lives, we first talked about their fear of speaking in the third session and also the typical mistakes that they make. And afterwards, they shared their finalized goals with their peers in pairs. So I have a picture here. Yeah. So you can imagine again. And then I followed this process, the opening of the process, towards their personalized plan for action. So again, after the third session, I helped each of them individually via Google Documents to create their plan for action based on their language goals. And then in the fifth session, they would bring the plan for action and talk about it in the group, adding more ideas. And we would also share as a group what our ideas were, and I also gave them a lot of tips. The seventh session, we rounded up the goals and plan for action. We would tweak it, consult it a little bit more, and we would start the second half of the process, the second half of the course, learning how to learn. And I would always start with learning from videos, movies, social media, visuals, and foreigners, because that's what people are most excited about. And then in the ninth session, I followed up with reading. We would usually go to the library and we would discuss different ways how to effectively learn from books and magazines. We would enter the English section of the library. I would encourage them to get a library card and so on. And we also prepared for the review and the reflection that would happen in the last session, in the 12th session. And also discuss their typical mistakes if they wanted to consult again. This wasn't only about coaching, although I am talking about coaching in the orange sessions. Whenever I was present, I would, of course, always consult the language with them. I would correct their English. I would write down a lot of new expressions and share that in a common Google document with them. So there was a lot of lexis, a lot of language, a lot of grammar involved as well in the orange sessions. And whenever it wasn't my session but somebody else's, the experiential and connected sessions, I would usually be there as well, partly, and I would make notes for myself that I would use in my own lessons. The last one, the 12th session, was the final session, time for reflection, time for review, and of course, time to talk about the future. Usually, this was organized so that there were other teachers that took part in the course as well and foreigners. So it would be usually like a party. And the results and the reactions and the feedback from the students was just mind blowing. And it always motivated me to keep going. The students approached the completely new paradigm with a lot of excitement. They really enjoyed the activities and they did wonders with language coaching. And they said the most amazing things about the courses. So, my all times favorite is from Alena Kastnerová. You can read her testimonial here. And lots of other students said that it just didn't feel like learning like they used to know from school. They finally could see that learning doesn't have to be boring, and learning can happen in so many different situations and environments, and with so many different people. And I must say that all the students were just amazing throughout these 10 years, and they created so many different fun gifts for me and the group. Usually, in the last session, they brought some cool presents. I got lots and lots of fun presents, like a song about me, or a surprise birthday party, or a private piano concert, or a beautiful thank you video. But obviously, the best present has always been when they came back to the course, to the very next one, or to one that I would organize 1 or 2 or 3 years later, and they would report to me about their progress and what it meant to them, what we did in this course. And it exceeded any of my expectations and their expectations. Very often it changed their life, their communication style. Very often they would be promoted, and just this fear of communication would completely disappear. And I have a before and after recording for you of one of my students. I used to do before and after recordings of my students and publish them on my YouTube channel to inspire others to take our courses and to make this progress and show them that it's possible. I still do it, but now just privately with my individual clients that I coach. And they usually record themselves at the beginning and at the end, and we don't publish it. But when I used to publish it, it was all on YouTube, and there are still quite a few, so you can check them out. And here is one of them. This is Lenka, who made incredible progress in one of my courses. So listen to this.
What motivates you to learn English?
My motivate is my job and maybe you.
Uh-huh. And why do you want to learn for your job?
Because I can get new position maybe, and a better position for me, and more interesting things.
Okay, do you enjoy your job?
Yes, yes, I like my job and enjoy me. I work for French cosmetics L'Occitane, and this is nature cosmetics, and I have responsible for 3 stores in Moravia. Now I have started to do training for our sales assistant in L'Occitane. Before I didn't use English in a real situation, in real life. I only learn some grammar in book, and I didn't use it, and I didn't use it in a conversation. I didn't I didn't speak with other people. Yeah, I am so smart. It hurts. It's okay?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's my favorite sentence. Maybe
Why?
I will write this on my wall with my goals.
I will write this on my wall with my goals. You can imagine how pleased I was when I heard that. And every time the students told me more about their process and the reflection, and when they came back, like Lenka did, after 10 years of taking the first course, and guess where her level was? It wasn't lower, it was higher because she kept all those ideas and tips and followed what we worked on, and she improved so she could join another course at a higher level 10 years later. So I just want to encourage you not to be afraid of language coaching in groups. Group coaching is about facilitating the coaching process in a group, which is so different from individual coaching, but so rewarding. You learn so much about other people and yourself, and also you learn how to hold space for more than just one person. My best tip would be to lead the group slowly to a point where they will basically teach each other. Self-directed learning by Sugata Mitra was very helpful and inspiring for me. So look him up if you don't know his famous TED Talk on the hole in the wall. And also Dogme ELT and Teaching Unplugged by Scott Thornbury and Luke Meddings, Emergent Language and Learning by Doing, and all the teachers around me that inspire me. So, are you ready for this? Are you ready to help your learners study in a group, be surrounded by like-minded people, and create this beautiful mini community? I highly recommend it. So thank you for paying attention, for listening to this. I hope you found some value in my case study of 10 years. And if you'd like to talk about it in more detail, reach out to me. The best way to connect with me is either Facebook or LinkedIn or my website, ninaenglish.cz. Here in this picture, you can see my classroom. That doesn't look like a classroom at all. Every time people come, they feel like they're in a cafe, and that's the main point. I don't want them to feel like they're in a school. So yeah, let's continue this dialogue about exploring language coaching in group courses, and I look forward to hearing your reactions and your feedback. This was Nina from Nina English. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you around. Ciao!